AGAT Software. We've been on the market for 7 years. We're based in Israel. We have projects in over 20 countries, and our target market is medium to enterprise-sized customers, although not exclusively. We're a Cisco solution partner. Our solutions are available on the Webex App Hub and also on the marketplace. Let me start by just, I guess, going over the table of contents here to what we offer. Like it was introduced, our expertise is security and compliance for Webex Teams and Webex Meetings. So we have an archive and eDiscovery solution. Data can be archived anywhere, and it's a very easy search of all communication. We've got recording compliance analysis. So the focus there is being able to capture content from Webex Meetings and analyze that data, both audio and video, together with files and messages. We have a DLP solution, data loss prevention. Ethical Wall, which is actually an extremely popular solution that we have, where you can control who communicates with who, and also control the ways in which users communicate. So having flexibility to control file sharing, instant messages, audio, video, screen sharing, etc. On the roadmap, we've actually got a couple of solutions here, governance and workplace analytics, that I'll be speaking about. And we have a risk engine that has 2 main features, which I'll go into, Geo Fencing and UEBA, user and entity behavior analytics, so picking up anomalous behavior, anomalous user behavior. And then we have anti-phishing, antivirus, and anti-malware. So let's go into the solutions in more detail. So like I mentioned, Ethical Wall is actually one of our most popular solutions. Here, there are 2 key factors. Number 1, you can control who can communicate with who, both internally and externally. And then you can also control the communication capabilities, so zooming into instant messaging, file sharing, screen sharing, etc. The customer can enforce policies based on Active Directory groups, domains, users, participant types. So, for example, internal and external users. It also comes with reports and notifications, so end users know what's going on, and there's also compliance awareness for training needs. It's a very easy solution to use. It's got a GUI interface. It can be controlled completely by the compliance role only. Does not need especially technical expertise to manage this solution. So here's an example of an internal policy on the right-hand side, and on the left-hand side, an example of the external control. So, for example, you can split your organization into groups, like I mentioned, Active Directory groups, and you can say Group A and B are able to communicate in all ways, Group B and C are blocked from communicating, and Group A and C maybe have controlled communication. So again, what we've seen in the market is, for example, to allow instant messaging, but to block file sharing from specific groups or screen sharing. On the left-hand side, we can see here an example of an external control. So what we're adding here is the ability not just to be able to communicate with an external domain or not communicate with an external domain, but have some more flexibility. So we can give, for example, the ability for Group A from the customer's company to be able to communicate with external company A, whereas all other groups would be blocked, or alternatively, have Group A have limited communication capabilities with external company B and everybody else be blocked. So again, it comes with flexibility and granularity, both with regards to who can communicate with who and also how people communicate with each other. Our solution is slightly different for Webex Teams and Webex Meetings, although we do have control in both, and we do address instant messages, files, audio, video, etc. In Webex Teams, by and large, we're talking about preventing the communication. Audio and video is in the better stage. And in Webex Meetings, our capability is to detect those violations and send notifications and alerts after the meeting. Some important features to point out when it comes to ethical wall. Number one, there are an unlimited number of policies and rules that can be built. The way the ethical wall works is like a firewall, so you build policies on top of each other and it scans the policies from top to bottom, and there's no limit to the number of policies that can be built. Policies and rules can also be applied retroactively on all existing teams and spaces, so it's not just a solution for going forward. And it also doesn't make a difference to how many people are present in the teams or the spaces. They can apply regardless of the number of people present. Like I mentioned, in beta stage, we have the ability to block audio and video in Teams. We can also create one-way policies. So, for example, maybe a customer would want Group A to be able to call Group B, but not vice versa. So B would not be able to call Group A. We can cover Webex Teams and meetings with the same policies, so you don't need to create the policies again. There's full visibility of all the events detected for the compliance officer, so there's a whole auditing section in the admin portal. And you can support both internal and external communication with this solution. Some examples that we've seen in the market and reasons why customers come to us for ethical wall. Number one is an example from the financial sector. So there's a requirement, for example, to comply with FINRA to block communication between investors and researchers. That would be a reason to get ethical wall. Another example is to restrict file transfer to a specific external company, or to restrict screen sharing from specific groups. Something we've seen interestingly recently is, and this actually is also being together with representatives from Cisco that we've been working together on this, is that there's been interest from schools, from the education sector, to segregate between grades. They are using Webex Teams and they have their concerns with regards to bullying, etc., and the amount of ease in which their students are able to communicate with each other. Our next solution is archiving eDiscovery. So a very important point here is that it's user-friendly. There's a GUI interface, so it's extremely easy for the administrator or whoever it is using the eDiscovery to be able to find the content that they're looking for. The second important point to point out here is that we can capture and archive all content from Webex Teams and Meetings. So that includes audio, video, files, and messages. So what we can do is archive it wherever the customer wants. It can be on-prem, it can be in the cloud, on the private cloud, and then that content is all searchable. So the video is searchable and the audio is searchable. The customer can search based on several parameters such as text, time, users, labels, topics, keywords, etc. The way that we search, or the way that the customer can search the audio, is by utilizing transcripts, and the way that they search the video content, that means whatever is shown on screen, whether it's a video or a screen share, we do that using video OCR. You can see the full context of the conversation that was taking place, which we'll see is very important when it comes to DLP and the way that eDiscovery integrates with DLP. And like I mentioned, the content can be archived anywhere that the customer wants, pretty much, on-prem, on private cloud, or wherever. Here's an example of the dashboard, the eDiscovery dashboard. So there is an option for a basic search and then an advanced search. As you can see, it's a GUI interface. You have all the results here lined up. You can see whether it's a message or a file or video communication or audio communication. And then when you click on each result, it will open up, if it's a conversation, it will open up the conversation. If it's a video, it will open up the video OCR, and you get to see all the information about that meeting, let's say who was involved in the meeting. There's also DLP incidents that get lit up according to a color risk level. And these timestamps are actually links, so you can just click on them and it will open up the video to the right point in time. With regards to DLP, so first of all, customers can configure rules based on either a predefined list of rules or custom rules to help them address regulations such as FINRA, GDPR, HIPAA, etc. Once they've configured those rules, they can inspect all content, so audio, video, files, and messages. Like I mentioned, the way that we inspect the audio data is by creating an audio transcript. We can support this in over 70 languages. The way that we inspect the on-screen video is by visual text recognition using the OCR. That can also be inspected for DLP policies. And then if there is an incident, there will be alerts which are sent to the administration, to end users. It also comes with DLP risk level management, so you can configure how, whether an incident should be red, orange, or green. There is also smart incident links. So like I showed before, every DLP incident will come with a link to eDiscovery. So if there is an incident, the administrator can click on that link and then go to the eDiscovery section and see the entire context of the conversation, which is obviously important if there is a investigation, not to just see the blocked word or blocked credit card number. And finally, a point about the topology and how it works. We offer this in two ways. Customers can use SphereShield's DLP engine, which is our DLP engine, or we can also integrate with other DLP vendors, including the leading vendors such as Google, McAfee, ForcePoint, etc. And what that integration means is that it really two main points. Number one, customers can utilize their existing DLP policies. They don't have to build a new list of policies. And number two, any DLP incidents will appear in that vendor's DLP incident manager, so they don't have to necessarily manage two admin portals. So just some main points about the DLP. There's a full scope here, so we are monitoring messages, files, audio transcript, and video OCR. It's integrated with the eDiscovery, so like I mentioned, if there is an incident, it will there'll be a link to the eDiscovery to see the entire context. It's granular, which means that the customer can create policies based on internal communication, external communication, or to configure policies based on groups, for example. It comes with a profanity filter, so we can pick up curse words, etc., and not nice language. This is actually something which has been we've seen interest in from the education sector. Again, they're concerned about how students communicate with each other. And we also support leading DLP vendors, so we're integrated with the main vendors in the market. This is an example, a screenshot from the DLP auditing section. So as you can see here, every row here is an incident. You can see whether it was a video incident, an audio incident, an incident in a message. You can see where it was, whether it was in a meeting or a space. And then here is the link to eDiscovery. You click that link, you get to the eDiscovery, and you see the entire context of the conversation. Our next solution is the recording AI compliance analysis. And here, the focus is on taking the content from Webex meetings and being able to analyze that content. So when there is a meeting, the content includes the audio communication, the video communication, files and messages. There's the transcript of the audio. There's the information about who the participants were. And all that can then be sent to the SphereShield engine, and we can do several things with that. Number one, we can archive the data, again, wherever the customer wants. It can be on-prem, it can be in the cloud, in the private cloud. That data is then all searchable, and it can be validated against DLP policies and ethical wall policies. So if there are people that weren't meant to be in the meeting, that would create incidents and alerts. So basically what we're providing here is companies that need eDiscovery and DLP solutions for meeting video and audio, as well as for the standard file and messages. They can get this solution to help them with that. And what we can do is we can either analyze the transcript from Webex, or in certain cases where there are languages, for example, which aren't supported, we can analyze third-party transcripts, and we're able to therefore support over 70 languages. The transcripts include speaker enumeration, so not just what was said, but who said what. And like I mentioned, we can identify on-screen video content with AI OCR. So if, for example, a user is sharing their screen and they show something that they're not meant to be showing and it violates a policy, maybe a credit card number or some other personal information, that would be picked up and an incident would be created. And then there's also advanced AI and NLP analytics. So, for example, we can pick up named entities, emotion detection, maybe to determine whether somebody present in the meeting was angry or happy or sad. Sentiment detection, whether what they said was said in a positive tone or a negative tone. Labels and keywords, etc. This is just an example of what happens. On the left here, you can see there's a meeting which is taking place between two users. One user is sharing their screen, and by mistake, often they share things which they're not meant to be sharing, personal information. That gets sent to SphereShield. It appears in the DLP incident manager. There's a link in the DLP incident to the eDiscovery, and you can literally click. You can see, for example, let's say it's a red incident. It will come with a red color next to it. You click on the time, and it opens up the video at that time. Our next solution is Risk Engine. So Risk Engine comes with two capabilities. Number one is UEBA, User and Entity Behavior Analytics. So this picks up anomalous behavior. There are heuristic rules, and there's also AI machine learning coming soon. So, for example, to determine, let's say users are logging in out of hours or more frequently than usual, or downloading more data than usual. The second feature of Risk Engine is Geo Fencing. So what that means is that customers can create policies to determine where their users should be able to log in from. There's a live map of connections that comes with the product, and you can build lists of allowed countries and countries which are disallowed. And again, this is all to mitigate the risk of malicious behavior. There's also an example of the impossible traveler, which the Risk Engine can pick up. So, for example, let's say someone logs in from the US at 10 o'clock in the morning, and then they're logging in from the other side of the world 2 hours later, something that doesn't make sense. It would pick that up and send alerts. This is an example of the live map of connections, and this is an example of the Geo Fencing, how you create the policies to determine which groups or users or domains are able to log in from which countries. Like I mentioned at the beginning, we have a couple of solutions which are coming soon. So on the roadmap, we have a governance solution. This would include things like controlling who can create a space, to have space lifecycle management, so to control, for example, how long data should be kept, and then after a certain time to dispose of that data, to have auto archive for inactive spaces, and to have a list of not just the spaces, but also the members in the space. We've also got workplace advanced analytics coming soon. So this would be able to give information such as a list of active and non-active spaces, how many users there are in each space, and if they're external users. To have automatic messages that encourage users to use the product, to have user behavior trends and change notifications. We would also have trends in space popularity by messages and users. So to get more of an idea about which spaces are more popular, to identify space champions, reports by Active Directory groups, and something again which has come to us from the education sector is to be able to detect and handle social bullying and sexual harassment using AI tools. So the topology for the way that we implement our solutions, we do this using Webex Teams API. We have a CASPI adapter that interacts with the API. There's an admin portal where the admin controls the solution from, and information is stored in a database. Just something to be aware of, a case study of a customer of ours who's been using SphereShield for Webex Teams is the Royal Bank of Canada. They've got 100,000 users. They're using our DLP and ethical wall solutions. DLP they're using to control file size, so certain files of certain sizes should not be able to be sent, and then they're using ethical wall for compliance reasons to control communication between specific internal groups. The way that we offer our solutions, we offer them as a SaaS. It's a preferred way, it's easier obviously, but we recognize that many customers would like to have the solution on-prem, and therefore we also offer that option. We also offer the option for customers and partners to try our solutions. We've actually set up trials and are in the process of setting up trials for several Cisco salespeople that we've been in contact with that want to try our solutions before they go on and introduce it to customers of theirs. If anybody's interested in contacting us, you can contact us at our website, agatsoftware.com, or shoot us an email at sales@agatsoftware.com. And that is all from AGAT. And I appreciate, again, being invited here. Thank you very much.